I go back to the pitch because I want you to always take this content, take it back to that outline, and make sure that you're able to fill in those slots so that you can have your slides ready. Even if you decide not to pitch, this outline that Passstone has put together is a great way to kind of get some focus for your business, and you can slot it together as if you were and gather all that information as if you were going to pitch. And so the outline will kind of keep reminding us where that all goes. Is that good? Good. All right. So why do you need a plan? Plan helps you gather all these thoughts and not just run out. I know as a small business owner, my first business, I just decided I was in business. I got some business cards. I told people I was in business, and that suddenly meant I was in business, but I committed each and every one of these sins personally. I spent all kinds of money that I really didn't need to spend with no real focus, just because I thought I needed to spend it. And I didn't do the second one as large as it is, but when you have these large followings, you're talking Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, those are other people's platforms. Any changes they make automatically affects your following. I tell people all the time, as business owners, email is still king. Build that email list because that gives you ownership of your customers. You start them over on social media, you move them over to email. When you have that email list and you have that email following, then you can contact them when you want to. There's no changes to algorithms that you have to worry about. They are your audience. So don't be afraid to switch over. You want to have them build it over on the social media, but keep them over on email. Excuse me. And in today's day and age, there really is no good reason not to have a website. Think about yourself when you go shopping and you need to find out something about a product or a service, you go look for their website. You do the Google, you look for them on their website. Facebook, Instagram, all those things are great for branding, but you have so much more opportunity to talk about your business on a website. And it doesn't have to be 6, 7 pages. We're talking 1 or 2 page website that really gives your customers an opportunity to know who you are and what you deliver. Recognize that sales is about know, like, trust. They need to know who you are. They need to like you and your business, and they need to trust you. The best way to do that, quickest, easiest way to do that is with a website. I am going to actually send Marisol and Jahaira a website. This is an AI site. Let me tell you something. As business owners, there's no better time to be a business owner than today, because this AI stuff is game changing. There is a website, a platform actually, that will build you a full-on website in like 2 minutes. You put some text prompts in there and say, my business is cupcakes. There are extra large cupcakes and fruity filling, and I like to give these to schools and organizations with kids. It will build you a whole website. You got to see it to believe it. So I'll make sure to include that in the email. Have your website, get your information out there. And then if you sell stuff, you don't want to, again, just be on somebody else's website, like in Etsy, because you want to own your customers. You want to own your products. So these are some of the reasons why you want to have a plan, and you want to be able to check that off and get these things more into your control versus these other platforms. Does anybody have questions on that?
No.
All right. Do I see a hand, Guido?
Yes, real quick question about the AI website.
Mhm.
do you, does it offer a monthly reoccurring cost to maintain it, or is it a AI platform for setup only?
The AI platform will create the site, and then they think they charge maybe between $8 and $12 to host it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So who here has ever seen a business model canvas? That's what this is. There's different versions of it. There are different what do I want to say, complexities to them. But this is one that I've created specifically for early stage businesses. And this is really just a visual representation of your business model. On the left side, you have your money. These are the operations, these are the costs. This is how much it costs you to run your business. Right in the middle, you have that offer. This is why I have a business. And then on the right side, you have the good stuff, your customers and your revenues. So this is when you answer those questions on this canvas, that business model tells you why you're in business and why customers come and buy from you. It tells you how much it costs you to deliver that product or service. And then it tells you who those people are and how much they're paying you. So we're going to go a little bit into detail to almost all of these.
Hey, Kim.
Your one. Yes.
Sorry, Jahida here. Just a quick question. So the business model canvas, they're asking if there's a PDF that can be shared just because the small text is really small, so you can't quite see it.
Yes.
And then
So I'm going to have that with the other information.
perfect. And the other question was, I lost it, but it was around the AI. So why would it be preferable for AI to create the website versus yourself?
If you have those skills and abilities and the time, then yes, I would say do it. But what AI does is builds in some efficiencies. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in one of the later slides. But as a business owner, you want to maximize your efficiency. Your time truly is money, especially when we're in this early stage and we are the cook, bottle washer, and owner. You have to be able to say, is this worth my time to do this if there's another resource that can do that? So if you have that efficiency, you have that skill, you have that time, go for it. This will take all that off your plate. And especially if you're someone who just needs it quick, doesn't have a lot of content, and your customers kind of just use it for information versus someone who has, say, a Shopify website. That answer your question?
Yeah, I was the one who asked that, Kimberly, if it's okay for me to extrapolate
Sure.
from that.
Absolutely.
Hi, everyone. It's Jess here. It's nice to learn together again. I always look forward to these classes. I guess what I'm curious about is, like, I pull a lot of data from the websites to be able to see, like, who in the area is contacting me or where they're coming from, so I can look at marketing revenue potential. And I'm wondering if that AI website kind of offsets that. I also just had a horror story of having somebody else create a website that didn't teach me how to update and manage it, and then they withheld access. So I have a website
Wow.
as an example where it was created, it's great, it's got all the information, but I'm not able to update it and I'm not able to access the back end of it. And so it's costing more money to downplay that website in lieu of the replication, which I'm creating on my own. So I was just hoping you could talk about like the AI abilities versus if it just puts you on the map and then you have to manage it thereafter.
You have the ability to edit this site. Once it's created the site, you can change everything on this site. It has built-in SEO. I don't know if it has the built-in Google Analytics. I'll have to look at that. But again, if you have that ability already, and it's something that you think would be quicker, easier, faster to just do that on your own, I say go for it, but also weigh it in terms of, is it worth your time to do that when you could be spending that time doing other things that generates an income and revenue? Does that answer the question? And then once I send this to you, you'll be able to see this platform and decide. I mean, it's got a lot to it, and it's really designed for you to be in control of it.
Amazing. Thank you.
Sure. Other questions? Okay. So your why, and tonight I'm gonna make sure I get you this break. So we're probably gonna be breaking at about 6 o'clock. So your why is that core. This is similar to Jess when you said, I believe everybody should be able to get a divorce. That's an amazing why you start a business, why you operate it the way you do, why your branding looks the way it looks. That is an amazing why. And whether you have consciously and intentionally set a why or not, there is a why running your business. So it benefits you to understand and do that self work to understand what that why is, so that when you're setting up your branding, you're hiring, you're looking at how you're speaking to people about the business, that is all driven from a place that you are understanding, you own and understand. Your wow, on the other hand, is that unique value proposition. It's what makes you stand out and makes people pick you over other people. And I like to say, when you're talking about your why, to use that visual language, that language that makes it conjures up an image in people's minds. So instead of saying our candles smell good, you say something like, when you light our candles, the scent of gardenias in the summertime will flow through your house. And people are like, gardenias in the summertime, that's what I want. So that's why they buy from you. That's the kind of language you want to understand and get into your business to know what those benefits are, to be able to speak to them in that type of manner. So that's your why, your wow. Does anyone have questions on that? Hopefully you
I
have
don't know if I
some
have a,
idea.
I don't know if I want to have a question, but when I was doing homework over the weekend, I found
Mhm.
out, like I said last week, y'all made me switch my why and my wow. Not so much the basis of where it comes from, but AI is serious. So I'm using, and I do have a question, but I'm going to ask my question as I'm saying what I'm saying. I use Poster My Wall because I've become more comfortable with the program. So I took the 7, you know, pillars of everything. And as I'm asking myself, I'm like, what is take a solar moment, right? So I started reading my comments from social media and looking at the things that I've done. And I was like, dag nabbit, I'm a community engagement specialist for real. Although it's cute that I can host. So I put in what I thought I was into AI, and it made me feel more important when it told me how my brand helps people to heal through the arts, when it told me that my brand was important for companies. And I think what somebody's on here, I can't think of your name right now, was saying, oh, you need to think about M&T. I'm like, I had to sleep on that for days. I'm like, what does she mean? So I'm like, oh, I could go to M&T Black History Month and be the person to tell their staff how important it is to infuse diversity, or, so it really does help. So my question becomes, for the pitch, do we have to use Canva, or can we use, oh, that's all I needed to know. Because I'm over
Mhm.
here laying it out with the logos and getting the visions together. And I'm like, wait a minute, if I'm doing all this and I got to use Canva, I need to know. So, okay, that works for me.
Not at all.
Thank you.
Sure. And congratulations on using AI for that stuff, because I'm telling you, it's here to stay, and it's only going to get better as it gets older.
The more I plugged in about what I thought my company was and how I viewed it from my standpoint, it was kind of like having a question answer situation with AI, but I also appreciate the fact that I can ask AI questions or I can put in the prompt of what it is and they'll give me steps like, oh, this is, you're doing your model. Well, this is what we see your model to be. Step one, step two, don't forget. But then I can say, can you create a statement for the information that I input? And it'll create a statement. And I'm like, oh, that sounds so smart, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so yeah, so that's definitely important. Thank you so much.
Sure. Now, quick, do you use Chat GPT for that?
Quit playing chat. Chat, it stays up. I do not close chat.
Okay,
I do my
let me
emails
just
with it.
put out
Yeah.
here for all of you, Claude.ai is almost like my boyfriend because he talks to me even better than Chat GPT. That is Claude.ai.
Like
So
Claude, like the
Shayna,
name CL.
yes, CLAUDE.ai. Shayna has her hand up.
Yes, so, I just
Hi.
wanted to know, hi, I just wanted to know, when do we, it's kind of off topic, but when do we get into like the, one-on-one like meets? I think if I'm not mistaken, the young gentleman who spoke to us our first day, he mentioned like one-on-ones.
Duncan.
When do we get into that?
So I will let you Hydra or Marisol.
So hi, sorry folks, I have a little case of bronchitis, so bear with me. Um, so with Duncan, the one-on-ones that will happen for the 10 finalists for the pitch competition. And so prior to that, I think it's week 5, if I'm not mistaken, he'll come into the session and he'll have like a 20-minute section during that session where he'll go over some tips for you to do your pitch. And then based on that, you will then eventually, you'll come back in week 6, I believe it is. You'll do your pitch. We'll then select the 10 finalists, and those 10 finalists are the ones that will have that one-on-one with him.
Okay, sorry, I don't want to jump the gun.
It's okay.
Okay, any other questions? Nothing in the chat that I can't
We
see.
did have one in the chat from Jess. Does your why/how change based on who you're speaking to, similar to pitch decks and resumes, or do they always stay the same?
Your why stays the same. Your why is that center. The nucleus of it is why you're in business. People use Apple. I only use Apple's example because their marketing is so on point. But their why, the why for Apple is they think differently and they want to help people think differently. So the way that they do that is through innovative technology like iPhones and iPads and the goggle things. So all of the things that they do within that company, all the things they create, all of the advertising is around helping people think differently. So that's your core, and that does not change depending on who you're talking to. That answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. So your problem, we talked a lot about this last week. That problem is, it's hard to think of your business as solving a problem because problems can look like they're not really problems, but they really are. Vanity can be a problem. We talked about status. That can be a problem. So it's not always this negative, tangible thing that you think your business is solving. Sometimes it is intangible, but equally valuable. And like I said last week, the amount of revenue your business makes is directly tied to the size of the problem that it solves or the size of the audience, the target customer that it solves a problem for. If you have a business that solves a problem for 20 people, it's not going to be as profitable as a business that solves a problem for 2,000 people. If the problem itself is a problem that only takes $35 for them to solve, it won't be as profitable as a business that takes a product that takes 45,000. Well, that's too much, but like the Birkin bag, $10,000 to solve. You won't be as profitable if it only takes you $35 to solve that problem. So think about that with your business. Think about what that problem is, how big of a problem it is, and how much people will pay to solve that problem. That's value. What's the value? I will say that when you have businesses that are consultant type businesses, it's very easy for the business owner to downplay the value of what they are providing because it almost feels easy. It's something that I know, something I can do, and I don't have a lot of overhead. It doesn't require me to buy a lot of equipment, and the stuff that I use, I've had it for years, my computer, my light, my microphones. That is not where the value is. The value is in what you are providing. If you think about an electrician, you might say, well, why would I pay this electrician for fixing my light when it only took him an hour and he wants to charge me $200? Well, you're not paying $200 for the hour. You're paying $200 for all the work and knowledge and education that he put in to be able to change it in an hour. So that's the way you want to be thinking about your business. What's the intrinsic value of what you're providing, even if it doesn't cost you a lot to do that? So does anyone have questions on the problem? Because we're going to keep coming back. That's like the second slide in your pitch. So you really want to have that down, what problem it is you're solving. I see Jessica has a question.
Hello, how are you doing, Miss Kimberly?
I'm good. How are you?
I am well. It's not more so a question that I have, more so than just last week, and I put it in the chat. You covered problems so well because I was sitting and I'm like, I don't have a problem to solve. I'm just providing this service. And I really had to sit in that and think about it. And I'm like, wow, I am solving a problem. But I had to really sit and think about it with the information that was given last week. So that was definitely helpful. So I appreciate
Well,
that.
good. Because recognize if you're not solving a problem, you're not making money.
Absolutely.
No one is going to pay to just feel good or think about because they like you, I'm going to buy from you. You're going to have to solve something for them. And
Absolutely.
as we're talking about being out in the community and talking and networking and getting to know people and seeking funding, you're going to have to be able to articulate that problem to your target customer, to your marketing people, to your funders. So good for you for taking the time to dig in and go, wait a minute, there's a problem in here.
Yeah, I didn't really think about it. I'm like, it's just a service. Everybody needs it. I mean, like, there's really nothing to solve. But when I really sat and thought about it, I was able to come up with something that was quite creative. So
Good. Thank you. I can't wait to see that. Are you pitching?
I am, of course.
Oh, good. I can't wait to see it then.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions? All right, we are moving then.
I have one quick question. I just want to confirm,
Yes.
I got the point you said. Slide 2 is what will you solve as a problem? What is slide 1? I just want to make sure I'm keeping myself on task here.
Slide 1 is introduction, and we got the outline is also going to be at the end of this presentation, just for you can double check. But number 1 is the introduction.
Okay, thank you.
So now we're talking benefits, and we're with the solution. How do you know? You know what the problem is. Now let's talk about how we talk about the solution. It's not just I plan parties. That might be functionally what you do, but it's not the unique value proposition, because there's something unique about what you offer, and you have to be able to articulate to your customers, because if you don't know, they won't either. And I see Marisol has a question, comment.
Sorry, so just talking about networking, right? She said one of the problems I have is that networking is inversely related to my ability to take on clients. I'm aware that therapists and doctors often have similar challenges. What recommendations might you have for that specific scenario in a small town like Western New York?
Well, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're talking about capacity, and we're going to be talking about that in about 2 or 3 slides from now. So if that's what it is that you were asking about, then you could hold on to that. But if it's something else, let me know.
Just if you can come
Yeah.
off mute if you'd like, yeah.
Oh yeah, hi. I can't see myself on this, so it's hard to know when my video is on or off. Yeah, I mean, I think the capacity is one part of it, Kimberly, and I'm eager to hear about that. What I'm looking at is conflict checking, right? So like when getting yourself out there and sharing about your business conflicts with your ability to take on clients, because now that you know them, you have a conflict with them. And so it's this like weird, it's not necessarily capacity, although I guess it's kind of connected, but it's more about the conflict component, similar to therapists. Like they're not going to take on their family or friends or their neighbors as clients and patients. So it would behoove them and benefit them to not go to networking. With small business, it makes sense to go to networking, but I don't want to get caught in that space where a bunch of people know me, but because I know them personally, I'm not able to help them and therefore have to refer them to my competition as an example, or my mentor, or somebody else who's learning, who's an associate.
I get it now. If I remember last week, though, we talked about there being opportunities for your customers to be other people. The people getting divorced would be your users, but your customers essentially would be the realtors who referred the people to you. And I think there was another group that
Yeah.
referred people to you.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess what I'm asking is that would be the step 2 for this process. Like in your identify your target customer.
Yes, because
Okay.
your target customer will be the people who are referring people to you. If you wouldn't network at an event of unhappy couples, so to speak, because those people, as you just said, would potentially be clients that now you created this conflict. But networking at a realtors association event, or networking at the other event, the other professional group, that's where you would do your networking and talk about your value proposition. And
Right.
that
So
would be,
I'm sorry.
no, you're right. Go
I
ahead.
guess I'm confused by like what we do inwardly versus what we share outwardly. So the why and the wow is what we know for ourselves to be true. And then this UVP is what we share outwardly.
Correct.
Got it. Thank
So
you.
your why and your wow, your why it's you. It's the essence of you, and the essence of what aspect of you made you start this particular business. Your wow is like, this is when we put together our messaging to go back to Burger King. We're going to hammer that flame broiled aspect. We're going to show fire and lines and a grill, because we want that to be, people go, wow, I want that. So when you're talking about your unique value proposition, that's like your statement. That's like your, some companies have mission statements and vision statements, and these slogans and these things that when you hear that, you automatically think of your company. That's what the unique value proposition is. That is very much outward. Your wow, your why is sort of internal to your business. Does that make sense for everybody? Okay. So when you're talking about this unique value proposition, it doesn't need to be a story, but you want to understand if you already have customers, that's the easiest place to start by talking to them about why they selected you. What is it about your business that made them say yes versus your competitors? If you don't yet have customers, you should identify some target customers and just ask the question, here's what my business is going to be. Is this the kind of business that you would participate or I just lost that word, that you would buy from? And if so, why? That's an easy little question, not committing any resources to it at all. But that's where you get started on hearing what the benefits that people are getting from your business, because keep in mind, that's what you're looking for. That's what you're listening for. What are the benefits? And then use that to create your unique value proposition. So questions, comments? Okay. This is a great example. This is something that I think is easy for people to relate to. And this is something that Apple does very, 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 very well. They don't just focus on the specs of the unit. They focus on how those specs are going to make your life easier. This is something you want to do with your business. What are the features of your business? And what are the benefits of those features? Really, really take the time to learn this, because once again, all of your marketing, when we get to lead generation, all of that marketing language has to be focused on the benefits, because people buy benefits. They pay for results. So if you can't communicate to your customers what the benefits are to your product or service, they will never buy from you. All they're going to hear is megapixel camera, wireless charging, and fingerprint sensor. And that may mean something to them. It may not, but it may not be enough for them to buy versus the benefits. So please take the time to list out what are the features of your product or service and what are the benefits to your customers of those features. So questions, comments on that? Moving right along then. Now, as we talk competitors, at this size, it is difficult to do a real good competitive analysis, because as small business owners, our direct competitors are other small business owners. And there is no requirement and really no benefit for those businesses to share the inner workings of their business. If a company is traded on the stock market, they're required to create an annual report. Within that annual report is a whole lot of information on that business. Tells you who the key players are, what their revenues were, what their plans are, what they accomplished over the years. You're not going to find that in small businesses. So it can be very difficult to say, okay, this business over here is my competitor, but I don't have any idea what they charge. I look at their Facebook and they want to be, everybody that asks a question, they say DM me, so I can't see what their benefits are. I can't even tell how many customers they have. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do the work. As much as you can, do the work, even if it's sending someone to be a mystery shopper and say, hey, I need you to call this business and tell them that you're looking to plan a party. And this is the party side, and Tell me if you like it. If you like their service, tell me if their service is better than mine. Tell me if they charge more than I do. All of these things you want to learn as much as possible, but for our size, it will be a challenge. I'm just kind of setting you up to say, this is not something you're just going to be able to sit back and Google. You're going to have to talk to some people, talk to some past customers, see what people are doing out here. A lot of people are on social media, so check social media first. That should be a way to get a lot of this information, but some of it you really are going to have to talk to people. So do I have questions on this? This is also one of your slides. Who is your competitor? And don't just say I'm better than all my competitors, because I am, because that's not going to work. You need to know what they're doing and know what you're doing better. And again, don't get, when you're thinking about your unique value proposition, I meant to say this earlier, don't get hung up on the unique part, because you don't have to have something that nobody else on earth has. If you think of Wegmans. Wegmans is a grocery store, Tops is a grocery store. When you ask people why they go to Wegmans, I can tell you a large percentage of them will say because of their customer service. There's nothing unique about customer service in and of itself, but Wegmans has decided they're going to kind of take it up a notch, and you can return whatever you want to return. We'll give you all your money back, no questions asked. We've got people in there before you're 5 minutes in the store. Can I help you find something? When you're checking out, did you find everything you need? So they have taken customer service as their unique value proposition. You can't say, if you're Tops and you've never been to Wegmans and you've never talked to anybody who's been to Wegmans, you can't say your customer service is better, because you don't know what they're doing over there. You have to know that. You have to go and figure that out. And sometimes it's going through and experiencing their service, experiencing them as a business, and being able to say, you know what? They're better than us on that, but we're better than they are on this. And that's okay. Because if this over here is what's important to your target customer, which is, again, is why you need to know who your target customer is, they might not care about this type of customer service. They might care about pricing. You need to know that. So that's why you want to do this competitive analysis and really dig as much as you can into who your competitors are and what it is they're doing. Questions?
We do have one. Lancy says, should the competition be a legitimate quote unquote business or anyone providing the same services and products? And Lancy, if you want to come off mute, I was asking if by legitimate business, do you mean like a brick and mortar space, someone that has a shop essentially?
Yeah, I was thinking, like, for example, like, say I was starting a business selling flashlights, like if was somebody that's very popular selling flashlights, like out of the trunk of their car, be competitive because they're competitively selling the same product to your market? Or should we look at our competitors as like a Radio Shack or Circuit City or something, like where they have the full out business established or in the process?
So your competitor is going to be someone who is selling the same product or service that you do to your target customer. So if you're an established business, not necessarily a Radio Shack or Home Depot, but you have a business that sells flashlights, that is in a brick and mortar space, that's well lit, that has hours that are conducive to working people, that's probably not going to, those customers are probably not going to be the same people who will buy a flashlight out of the trunk of a car, to use that example. You want someone who's your target customer, and part of your target customer has to do with why they're buying whatever they're buying from you. And then the people who are servicing, so think of it like this. If your target customer got mad at you, but still needed your product or service, who would they go to get it? That's probably going to be your direct competitor. Now, that's not to say if you have flashlights and you just got this little tiny shop selling flashlights, someplace like Home Depot, Radio Shack, those would be indirect customer or competitors, because there's a reason they're going to your customers are coming to the small shop versus these big players that have been around forever. So you want to know what that difference is, and that's really where your target customer persona comes in. Who is this person that would prefer the small shop versus these big guys? That's going to be part of what you're using to determine that. So to answer your question and circle it back, direct competitors are people servicing your target customer and with the service or product, that same service or product that you provide. Does that
Thank
answer
you.
that? Sure.
Yes.
I see Candace with a hand up.
I just wanted to piggyback when it says by legitimate business, do you mean a brick or mortar? Because I have a brick and mortar and I'm also mobile. So it doesn't matter where this facility is. I still could spend blood in my car and I'm still taking patients from Quest. So please don't look at somebody as, oh, they don't have a business, they're not a real business, because I started from my house. So, and you wouldn't have known it because I'm drawing your blood at your house, but I'm spending it in my car and I'm dropping it off at FedEx on my way there. So again, and the way our world is moving, everybody is starting to get into the mobile thing. There's even doctors and nurse practitioners right now that are resulting back to doing home visits. So don't think they're not real doctors either. It's just that the way of the world, we're changing. So I just wanted to put that in. Because in the medical world, it's a little bit different and our services and products move a little bit different. So I just wanted to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was exactly why I asked the question, because there's so many varying differences or similarities of how you could run your business.
Mm-hmm. I see Jamie. Did I say that right?
It's just Jamie. Jamie.
Okay, Jamie.
My question is piggybacking off of theirs in regards to the competitors. So do we have to name them specifically? Like my competitor is Walgreens, they do XYZ. And my second question is, if that is the case, like how many competitors should we write on that slide?
What I would do is if there is one or even two direct competitors, people that you know of, people, like I just said, if someone got mad at your business, they would go directly to this business. I would just sum it up to say, I have two direct competitors. I am, I won't say I'm better, but these are the things that I do better than they do, and why people will come to me versus them. But you don't need to list them all out and say these are all the competitors and these are all of the things that they do. I would just kind of summarize all of that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Jenna.
Hi. My question kind of piggybacks off of that. Because since my company offers a lot of different niche type products and services, I don't have really any direct competitors who do the exact same things that we do. But I have a couple of competitors that do plantables, handmade paper, and I have a couple competitors that do hand-bound books and stuff like that. So I'm just curious, how should I incorporate something like that into this slide and say like, well, I have like 10 direct competitors, but none of them are actually direct competitors because they don't really offer the one-stop shop that we do.
I would say to all of you, when you think about your competitors, it's less about what you do versus who your target customer is. Do you have target customers that come for everything you do? And if you do, where do those people go if you're not available or if they get mad at you and don't want to do business with you? If not, then who are the core customers, your core business? And we're going to talk a little bit about vertical and horizontal revenue streams in a couple of slides. But when you're thinking about your core business and that target customer for your core business, I would say think of who those competitors are for those target customers of your core business.
So how do you know which one's your core business if they all, several of the different aspects make about the same amount of revenue?
When you lead, what do you lead with for your business? Is it your wedding planning? Is it the printing, the custom print items? When you are leading into what you do for your business, what is it you're using?
The main thing when I do my elevator pitch type thing, I say we make magical things out of paper that make people happy. So,
and what do you mean by that? So if someone says, that sounds interesting, what do you mean?
Then I describe a little bit about the things that we do in order to do that. I guess above everything else, we make custom orders. We do custom orders for multiple different markets. So I guess that would be our core business, but there really isn't anybody else that does what we do that way.
But think about it. Who is servicing? There's not a single business on earth that doesn't have a competitor. So that competitor, again, is about who your target customer would go to for their needs. So there may not be another business that has exactly what you offer, but there will always be another business that does custom print items, that does other custom paper products. So think about your target customer and what it is that they come to you for and what it is they would go to someone else for. That someone else would be your competitor. Okay. Because if I closed up shop today, my customers will have nowhere else to go for what I offer. Probably not. They would find some place. If that someplace might be Etsy, that someplace might be a brick and mortar that they Googled that's just a little home-based shop. They may have to get a lot of things in a lot of different places, but they would still get what it is they need. So when you think of that from a perspective of where are they going to go, that's your competitor. Does that help?
Yes, I'm gonna have to squish it all into one slide, I think.
Yeah, and there's really, again, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to list out absolutely everything you do and absolutely every competitor within those verticals. You're really going to be looking at the target customer and saying, my target customer is going to go to these places, and these places would be my competitors. And then as my competitors, here's what they don't offer that I do. And that's why my target customers come to me.
Okay. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. I see LaShawn with a hand up.
Yes. Okay, I have a question. As far as picking out my competitor, which, because I'm a counselor, mine would be, would I pick out another clinician of color and talk about what they don't do, or would it be better for me to do like the general best self or Horizon? Because then I feel like I'm putting down another organization.
Well, I would ask this of you. Do your target customers come to you because you are a counselor of color?
Yes,
So then
some
that's
of them. I
your,
think that's where the draw comes in.
well, you want to, again, this is not just a swath of all the customers who have come through for your business. This is who's that target? Who's that person that when I put my messaging out, that person goes, that's my girl, I hear it, I'm going to her. Who's that person that says, even if LaShawn raises her prices by 15%, I'm still gonna come to her? Because I know what she does and what she does solves my problem.
Right. It would be more so people of color, middle
So
class
if that's the
families of
case,
color.
and so again, if that's the case, then your competitors would be counselors who are also of color. Because if those people got mad at you, they would go find someone else who looked like you to deliver that product or service.
So when I say, I'm just gonna throw a name out there. So when I say like Erin Moss, like when I put her on my slide, would that be okay if I put a person's name, or should I just say,
Is she the only one?
no, it's other ones, but a lot of them are their name with, or would I just say other clinicians? Because a lot of them are their names with the PLLC, or other clinicians.
I would say there are 3 other clinicians in my area that are my direct competitors. These are the
Okay.
things that they do. These are the things that I do better and why my customers come to me.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Marisol, I saw you had a hand up a little while ago.
Yeah, but actually everyone in the chat helped out, so thank you so much. But we did have
Okay.
another question. Uh-oh, I lost it. Okay. How got it. So how close should the competitor be to you? Like should they be within the same town or the same, city, or can you be looking at folks like, let's say you're based here in Buffalo and you can look at folks in like LA or something like that? What would you recommend?
I recommend going right back to your target customer. Does your target customer shop in LA and Chicago if you're in Rochester? Your target customer is tied directly to your competitor because if your target customer does not do business with people outside of your area, then those people outside of your area are not your competitors.
Thank you, Kim. I think that's about it.
Sure.
And also it is 6:03 if you still wanted to take that break right now.
Perfect. Let's take that break right now. So the way we do the breaks, you just turn off your mic, turn off your camera. 15 minutes, that would put us at 6:18-ish, 6:20, and be back online, and we'll get ready through the rest
have
of
a
the
question.
presentation.
If we don't want to take a break and we want to mingle with each other, can we still leave our things on?
Yeah.
Okay, because I just wanted to answer that question about the competitor. I don't really have competition here within Buffalo, New York, unless it's with Quest or with one of the other like CSL Plasma or LabCorp. But I do have to look at competition in my area because we only can charge so much where it'll be like 65 to 75, whereas over there in California, they could charge 120 to 150 for our same services, but it also has to do with the cost of living. So that's why I say it makes more sense, like Kim said, to look at your target audience, which is your local people, and go according to them. And if you don't have anybody in your area, I will go maybe the next county or the next city or the next state over, but I wouldn't go another coast.
You would go where your target customer goes, exactly. Mm-hmm. Any other questions before we break? All right, well then I will see you back here at about 6:19, 6:20.
Ito, there's a question here in the chat for you in case you're not breaking.
Do folks want to introduce themselves?
Hi, I'm here.
before saying?
All right, and I'm gonna switch over to the presentation.
Okay, I just gotta say this. Miss Kim, you have like the most perfect, most beautiful smile I've ever seen. Every time
Right?
you be smiling, I just be like, her smile is just so gorgeous. You make me smile every time you smile. I just had to say that.
Ah, thank
This is a
you. I
clothing ad.
appreciate
It's
that.
beautiful. Beautiful smile.
Thank you so much. Look, y'all gonna have me cheesing through this whole presentation now.
As you
Every
should.
chance I get. Okay, so any more questions on competition? First, before we get to that, I just want to say I loved the conversation that was going on with all the collaboration. Love it. Because that's where the money is. All right, so now we're going to talk about capacity. Capacity is critical to us at this stage. One, because we don't want to stay here and when we're the only one in the business, but two, understanding how we grow is really sometimes a challenge for us when we're so busy in the work and getting the work done. But capacity factors into so many different things that it's really important that you understand what it is about. So you first start by that core offering. What is that one thing? And when you're thinking about all the different things you do, there's still a core, as we were talking about with Jana, there's still a core that target customer comes to you for. What is that? And then you need to break that down into a single unit. And that unit, this example is like a cupcake baker. If you have a bakery and you sell cupcakes, then that unit is your cupcake. And then you say, well, what are the parts of that cupcake that I need to account for? You need to get all the way down to all the ingredients, everything, even those little frilly, fluffy paper cup things that you put the cupcakes in. I don't cook, but I eat a lot of cupcakes. So that has to still be accounted for when you're talking about the components of your offering, your unit. Then when you get down to that minimum viable unit, this is important because when you are looking at all the things you offer, even if you don't have a package, because some people say, I have a package A, package B, package C. And that's what most of my customers come for package A, and then I upsell them to B and C. But you need to say, what is that unit? Sometimes from a consultant standpoint, that unit is an hour. Sometimes to Candace's business, if I understand it right, her unit is a person. She charges per person. So that single cupcake, that bakery, what is that minimum thing that you can deliver that your customer would pay for as that single smallest unit? And then how much does it take to process or produce that unit? That's how much money and how much resources. You need to understand everything about it. So I think about, there was a time when I was renting out the event stuff. And I had these vases that I would also kind of throw in for people to buy. And I had a boatload of labels from another project that I would stick on there that everybody loved those things. Well, when I was costing and doing this process for those vases, and then I started selling them and started realizing I'm losing money. I'm saying, why am I losing money? I have everything on here. Well, at the beginning, I had a boatload of labels, so I didn't put those into my costs. But then when I ran out of those labels and I still had to put the labels on, it was costing me money. And therefore I wasn't making as much as I needed to make on these bases. So you have to capture every single cost that you have in this business. If you have a service business, your time is part of that cost. At no point should you be giving away your time. As the owner, you need to think about when you hand this off, if you delegated this task, that person will need to be paid. What is that price? What is that cost for paying that other person to do this work? That's what needs to be included in your costing. You want to have everything of your direct costs, which are things that go directly into the production of this unit, as well as your indirect costs, which would be your overhead costs. Things like your rent, things like gas for your car, things like utilities. Those are the kind of things that are indirect, but they still need to be accounted for into your production of that unit if they are tied to that unit. So what do I mean by that? I mean, if you have a product or service that you use a machine to make, a percentage of your utilities could be factored into the cost of that unit. If you produce something that doesn't use any utilities to produce it, but you still need the lights on to do the work, then you wouldn't have that in your unit cost because you didn't use any utilities to produce that unit. That stays in your overhead. Does that make sense for everyone? You're going to go through each step of producing that unit, and then you're going to make sure you're capturing the cost included in each of those steps. So you got that? What do I offer and what do I offer as a unit? Now, the reason you're going to be doing this is because you need to understand your capacity. You don't want to be saying to yourself, well, I have a product that it's just me in the business and I charge $100 an hour, so I can make $2,400 a day. Well, yes and no. Mathematically, you can make $2,400 a day, but the reality is you're not going to work 24 hours a day. So your capacity is the amount of time that you are going to be able to produce that unit. So if that unit is an hour, your capacity is how many hours can you work per day, how many days per week, how many weeks per month. If that is a cupcake, how many cupcakes can you make in, say, a day? And how many days out of the week are you making cupcakes? But you have to list out all of that capacity, because the last thing you want to do is put yourself out here and say, I have this product or service that's so wildly popular, 200 people a month are banging on my door to get it, but I can only produce 30 units in a month. So that's going to be a huge problem for you very, very soon. And then you're going to really find out who your competitors are, because those 170 people are going to go someplace else. I had there was a product that I ordered that everybody just raved and raved and raved about. So I was like, bet I'm in, give me 3. I ordered those last August. I've yet to see them arrive on my doorstep. Now, I've read some of the comments and people said, yes, it takes them a long time because they're making it out of their house, but all the ingredients are great. You're really going to love it. It's really going to be great. I'm saying to you, I don't care how great it is. Nothing is so great. I'm willing to wait 2 years for it. So even if they end up selling it to me or sending it to me, I'll never buy from them again. So understand what your capacity is. They have extended beyond their capacity, and now they're going to end up probably going out of business just because people are not willing to wait. Jana, you have a question.
I'm back again.
Yes.
We have a program that we use called Crafty Base that we have recipes for all of our different products that we manufacture here. Some of them are really labor intensive, some of them are not. And it has like a recipe. Here's all the materials it takes. Here's how many minutes it takes. We keep track of everything. And how do I do something like this for, say, we work on like contract basis. So, I mean, we've done contracts where we make $500,000 of something, and when we do contracts where we make 5 of something else. So I'm just trying to figure out how I can do this for only one item when we sell so many different things, and
But
we really mainly do custom orders, and they're all different.
They're all different, but what do you, going back to that core offering is what? It doesn't necessarily need to be a single item. If your core offering is a set of 20 or 200 custom printed mugs, if that's a unit for you, that's okay. What does it take to produce those 200 custom printed mugs? So, you can look through and say, yes, we sell a lot of every little thing, but this thing we sell the most of. This thing is the thing that most people, if they don't come in the door for it, we can upsell them for this each and every time. Is there something like that?
We don't actually have something like that. My business is really weird because we make handmade paper, but then we make a whole bunch of different things with it. And then we make plantable items, and out of paper, but in different shapes. And then we use those for all different other purposes. So we manufacture a lot of components, and then we use those components to sell to all different types of clients. So say I have a corporate client that calls me up and says, I want a way to reach out to 1,000 customers at an event. And we will pitch them 3 or 4 different types of corporate swag that we can make that's customized. Some of it might be a sheet of plantable paper that we print on. Some might be like a little seed bomb in a package, and we print the packaging on different paper. And sometimes people call us up and say, I have this wedding album from 1965, can you fix it? And sometimes people call me up and they say, can you make 500,000 seed bombs in 2 months? And I hire 70 people and we do it. So I don't have like one thing that we do.
How do people find you when they
find us
Google?
Mostly
When they
find us
Google you, how do they find you on Google?
People find us by searching custom seed bombs, custom handmade paper, custom invitations, book repair, unique, meaningful gifts. People end up on our site a lot for that. But we do like B2C gifts, and we do B2B gifts on completely different scale. I don't know how to put this in one pitch.
Well, is the root of it the paper? Is the paper the base unit?
Things made out of paper are the base unit, but we use some paper that we make and some paper that, like when we make paper flowers, we purchase that paper and then we make the flowers, and sometimes people buy one and sometimes people get a whole wedding full.
Mm-hmm. I would say if you two ways to kind of get to that core for this exercise is what's the thing that people are searching for the most, that they find you for, and then compare that to what's the thing that's selling. And I would not necessarily I wouldn't try to combine your B2C and your B2B. I would pick one and then use that for your core, because then you can do this exercise for both. Once you get it done for one, you can do it for the other. But those are the 2 cues I think you would use to determine what that core offering is. What is it that they're searching for? And what is the thing that you sell the most of? And not specifically, because as you said, it could be, if I say an invitation, that invitation could be a custom invitation with the paper you made or a custom invitation from paper you purchased. Don't think of it in the weeds so much like that. Just start with what's that core? Is it, if it's invitations, if it's the what's the bomb, seed bomb you said?
Yes, plantable paper. I think this year anyway, we've been selling a lot of plantable handmade paper and plantable seed bombs. For people who want to know, seed bombs, they're little bits of recycled paper with seeds embedded in them. You plant them and they grow. And we make them in a bajillion different custom shapes, colors, seeds, whatever. I mean, our main UVP is that we say yes when other people say no. We say yes when people say that's crazy. So every single day is something completely and totally different over here.
Nice. Nice. That's great.
It's
great,
awesome, but it's really hard to like make it fit traditional business because we sell art, and selling art is really different than selling really any other products. Because people
But
don't
it sounds like the
know that it's-
plantable paper is a great start. So if you said, what's that recipe for that plantable paper? That would be it, because again, you use that as a foundation for other things. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, we recently upgraded our ability to print in-house on our plant. Like we make sheets of paper that also have seeds in them, and we can print on those in-house and then use them for all different purposes. So because we now upgraded to be able to do that this year, we have a lot more B2B clients because we've been making marketing materials for other companies in mass. We've been able to like fill these bigger orders. But you know, if I go back through the history of the last like 9 years since I've been doing this while raising my kids, I would say the quantity wise, the most things we've sold are seed bombs because they're little, and we did a huge order for 500,000 of them a couple years ago. But do we do orders like that all the time? No. Like, do I want to do orders like that all the time? No, because it's exhausting and I have to hire lots of people. So I'm just trying to figure out like, is it
You have enough offerings that you can choose what you decide is your core. What's that thing, that one thing? And again, just listening to what you've said so far, I would say it's the plantable paper. And then you do that you get through this, you using that recipe, what's the cost of that unit?
okay? So say like one postcard size, just ballpark.
Correct.
That size. Okay.
Absolutely.
Oh, I am such a big picture person, not a small picture person. Can you tell?
And well, that's all right, because we all have to have both skills. Does anybody else have other questions about this? You want to get down to what your single unit is and what the cost to produce that single unit. Now, once you have that, now you want to start talking about resources. How much resources does it take to produce that? Tony has a question.
Sorry about that.
No
So
problem.
I always get tripped up with this because we're a service-based business, with me being a luxury event planning and design company. And we offer multiple services, right? So like I have certain fees assigned to each service that we provide. But so how I would break that down is based on time, because it's more time than obviously unit. And because, well, I shouldn't say that, because of course with our design part, because we rent, because of some of the setups that we do for the different events, they're technically renting the items that we're utilizing. So I could either choose to do that by unit. Like, for example, if we're talking about a dessert display, you know, we're talking a number of, you know, cake, cupcake, holders, you know, all of the other decor that goes on there. I can either break it down by unit on something like that, or I can just choose one service, that being that of the actual planning fee itself, and then just go into the amount of hours that may be spent on just planning.
Let me
as
ask,
a
does
service.
your target customer buy just a cupcake display from you?
No, I normally, I try not to get into my target population breaking down an event where they only book me for one specific part of the event. I rather book my target population books the whole event, full service planning and designing.
Okay, so that will be your core. What
Okay.
you're, not the individual pieces of that event, but
Mhm.
how you have standardized that event. And I will say this is something I see with a lot of event people is they want to say, well, I do everything that the customer is willing to pay me for, essentially. But when you do that, you lose track of your costs. And your
Right.
costs are an enormous driver for your pricing. So I always suggest that you find a way to standardize. So you say every single event is going to have X number of planning hours, X number of design hours, X number of displays, your minimums,
Yes,
and I
I
say
do
maybe
do that.
standard
I do have
displays.
yeah, I have that in place. And then if
So
they
when
want
you
to add
have
any,
that,
Mhm.
then that would essentially be your minimum viable unit. That
Got it.
event framework, or I will, for lack of a better term, I will say your standard package is your minimum viable product. And that is where you go through and say, what are the resources? What are the costs associated for that? And then you can upgrade from people from that if you'd like, but that's the standard package that they're going to get when they hire your business. That makes sense?
Okay. So then, because I don't, so because I don't use packaging or packages, just because that to me lets you lose money that way. But for purposes of this exercise, just put it in a cute little package and bow of the standard things.
Well, let me flip this around a little bit to say,
Okay.
your costs are internal. So you
Right.
can have an internal package,
Got it.
but
Yes.
externally, your
I do.
customers
Yes. Okay.
are something else.
Okay. Got it.
So
Okay.
when you're
And that
talking
I do.
about,
You're right.
so when you look at what the costs are, you're looking at the costs internally for that
Mhm.
standard package.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure. And I see Keto.
Yes, I just wanted to make a statement to Tony because I've done quite a few large events. And one of the pain points, like you said, Kim, we should be looking for the solution of the problem, right? One of the pain points that I noticed, and I've worked with HSBC, M&T Bank, I'm at the Buffalo Urban League now. The major pain point is when you ramp up to your event and you're doing the run of shows and you need a totally fresh person who has not been involved in the day-to-day components of creating the event and whatever your theme and vibe is, to really own that and really make sure that the day of the event that we're on point with the minutes, that all of our key people are in position and that they have that cue. And that's really, to be quite honest with you, when I was listening to Tony and I was thinking about the day in the life of when the event is live and we're in the thick of things. We're so close to it that we're emotional, we're a wreck. And you need a sound person to be there to keep it level. You can make a nice penny by doing, I don't know what you would call it. I'm just going to toss a name out there. You know, the ramp up event planner, where you own the run of the shows, you participate in those closeout meetings. And let's just say you might spend all of 1 week at the tail end doing that. I know for someone like myself, and you know, if I'm in a room and I can influence my team to participate in something that's going to make our lives easy, and it's going to take us away from being so close to it, that's priceless.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And that's something, again, as we talk a little bit later in this presentation about the scaling of our businesses and beginning to delegate, that's a great way to do that, to say the team is going to be the one that's going to take care of all the nitty-gritty details. And then I, as the owner, gets to swoop in at the end and handle that run of show and be that logistics pro at the
I just
end
got
that make sure everything is all right and running the way it's supposed to run.
I was just about to
And
chime
charge
in and say,
accordingly.
I'm sorry, I just got to the point where I could say that about having a team. So I had to jump in there and acknowledge that, like, oh my gosh, I have someone who can call this person back and someone who can help me send this life out and get this together. So it's just amazing when you touch bases on that, and there's such a host of resources to pull it together. And right now, so one day I'm gonna be able to pay you.
Ah,
Sorry, while we're
yes.
answering questions, could you go back one slide, please?
Yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Krista's saying, would this work the same for a dance studio?
Yes. It works for every business. You want to, you would have to determine what that unit is. And once you determine that unit, then you just work through the same things. What are the components of that unit? What does it take to produce that unit? And what are the costs and resources that need to be allocated for that unit? Is that good?
Yes, Krista said, okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any
So
other
as we're
questions?
talking about,
Okay, sorry.
no problem. Is there something else?
I don't think so, not on the chat.
All right. So as we're talking about resources, we have to determine that there's human resources, system resources. And I talked earlier about that platform from your website for creating a website. You have to be, as the owner, it's your job to really distinguish when do I need a human resource and when can a system resource suffice. Now, I will again say, in this world of AI that is unfolding in front of us, it is coming to the point where we can rely, especially as a small business, a new emerging business, we can rely more on systems than human resources in a way that we haven't been able to do before. Having that marketing conversation with ChatGPT and Claude AI, which Claude, I'm telling you, that's gonna be my boyfriend. Love me some Claude. But having that resource to be able to figure these things out and talk these things through and bounce things off in a real way that gives you real results is you can't even put a price tag on that. So what that will do for you as a small business owner, it will help you to kind of push out the need to come out of your pocket and pay people. In some instances, you won't be able to get around a human resource. If you have an event and need things set up, there's no AI for that yet. But when you have things internally that need to be done, that need to marketing materials, your finances, even being able to plug some numbers in and say, help me create my cash flow, help me lay out my forecast, my sales plan. If I have these many customers, what's a reasonable conversion rate? These are things that AI can help you with. And I will say, really, there's so many different systems, so many different things coming online every single day. Find a way to plug into what's coming up down the pipe. Find a way to find out what is available from a small business perspective. There's even a platform called Sell Me This Pen. pretty sure this was sellmethispen.ai. For those who are a little timid and shy when it comes to sales, this is an AI system that will help you role play sales conversations. That's unheard of. Use these things to your benefit. You want to be able to say, these are the resources that I need. These are the ones that need to be human. These are the ones that I can use systems and technology for. And then go find that. And again, I say that to say the list of things you can use systems and technology for is growing every single day. So you want to find a way to stay on top of that and use these to build in those efficiencies that you need and save you a little bit of money, because you really are like, I'm not ready to hire, but I need some help. I also want to say that if you are in a position to say, I need 3 people for this job, price it for 3 people. Price it for 3 people. And then you don't have to necessarily hire right away. You can go through a temp agency. One thing that people don't understand is if they have a job opening and they don't know how to fill it, they don't know if the temp agency has that, you can find temp agencies, especially some of the bigger ones, they will sit down with you to create the job description that they will then help you fill. And you don't have to assume the risk of an employee right out of the gate. You then can say, all right, if you can find me 3 people to fill this job description, I will bring them on. They are the ones that hire them. You pay the temp agency, you get the assistance you need, but without the risk, without the need to say, I need to figure out how to keep these people busy for the rest of their lives, without trying to figure out what benefits you need to offer. Start slow. Start by doing this easy way, going through the temp agency, bringing the people on, getting used to delegating, getting used to managing your staff. And then when you get to that point, and because you're building that capacity, now instead of only being able to service this finite amount of work that you can deliver, you've just tripled the amount of work that your business can bring in. And then you can use that revenue to then hire permanent people. Does that make sense? Okay, do we have questions in here? Oh, all right. Pricing, I see Jana.
Yeah, I have a question about from the last slide about how do you have like advice or resources to find out how to use AI to get your data in there and do data-driven decisions and make it do these cool predictive insights? Like, I know there's obviously like Chat GPT, there's like those type of AI, but like I have no idea how to take the data that I have and put it into anything and have it send out something useful. Like, how do you learn how to go from like, I have a bunch of numbers, where the hell do I put them?
What kind of numbers are you, what kind of data are you looking to output?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I have lots of data through like my QuickBooks, my accounting software, my inventory management. I have a CRM. Like I have all these things collecting all this data, but I don't know what, like, how do I get said data from where it is and where do I paste it to make it do these cool things? Like, you know, my brain obviously doesn't work that way. So I don't like, I know it's capable of doing these cool things, but like, how do I get it to do that?
I would say you want to start with the end in mind. Start with what it is you're trying to understand from these numbers. Now, I will say, and I think the paid version of ChatGPT can do this also, but having used both paid GPT, ChatGPT, and Claude AI, when I put something into Claude, let's say I attach a document that I've created, and I say it's a outline of my presentation. And I put that in there into Claude and I say, does this effectively help a small business owner learn about system resources? If I put that into ChatGPT and put it into Claude, ChatGPT will say, I'm looking through your information. You have system resources, AI, factors to consider. These are very good things that business owners would need to know. And I think that would help you teach that to your students. If I put the same thing into Claude, Claude would say, you've got a great start here. This is good. This is why this is good. This is why this part is good. This is why this part is good. If you add all of these together and you teach these to your students, they're going to learn X, Y, and Z. I think that's a great start. I then can go to Claude and say, would you change anything about this outline? And Claude will come back to me and says, now that you ask, I would, if it were me, move this over here, and here's why I would move it. And here's some other suggestions that I would put in there as well. So I'm starting with saying, I want this at the end, and then asking the questions. ChatGPT is more prompt-based, meaning that you have to ask it the right way to get the right thing out of it. Claude is much more conversational. Claude is much more, it's a broader thinking model and tries to help understand where it is you're trying to get to and gives you that information. I've not used it to analyze numbers, so to speak, but if you go into it with what it is you're trying to get out of it, that will help determine which system you use and how you use it. That makes sense.
Do you have any resources that's like an actual person that I could maybe meet with? So I could be like, I want to know how to, I don't know, like I've been doing a lot of like building systems and stuff like that lately, and it's definitely not my forte. And I know I waste a crap load of time trying to go and Google and chat GPT and figure out how to do stuff that I don't know how to do on it. And I was just wondering if you have any resources of people who like can do like this stuff for dummies, you know, like computery techie things for not techie people. Like,
well, I will tell you, I don't know if Pat Stone or Marisol or Jaira, if you have resources there specifically for that, but I will say, and I will send you to also the SCORE presentation from New York City. There's two people, Tim Contado and Anne, can't think of Anne's last name, but they're doing an upcoming presentation on using AI for your business. And I think if it's not free, it's only $35. And if you register, and even if you can't make it, they will send you the recording. Those are two people that I found to be very knowledgeable, very much in the vein of what's existing and what's coming and how to apply it to small business. So I will make sure to get that to Pat Stone.
Hey, Kim, I just got it. I put it in the chat and it's only $35. Also, we don't have anything in-house, unfortunately, guys, because you bring up a really good point that you have to know how to ask these questions. And I'm trying to look for like a YouTuber that does it, but no luck just yet. There's a lot of like kind of clickbait stuff. So anyway, I'm gonna just try to find that out, guys, throughout this process. So yeah, I'll share it if I find anything.
It really comes down to the end. You have to know what you want out of it before you sit down and start trying to prompt it to give it to you. Because it's going to give you what you asked for, but if you're not asking the right question, you won't get the right response.
okay, thanks.
Sure.
Kim, is Claude AI free or is there a monthly fee associated with it?
Claude.ai is very much like ChatGPT. There's a free version and a paid version. I use the paid version of both. Having used the free version of ChatGPT for a very long time, they are constantly making upgrades. There's actually a new version of ChatGPT coming out, which probably means there's a new version of Claude coming out as well. But the paid versions are a little faster. The responses are a little more in-depth, just a little bit more, not a whole lot more. And you can put more text in there. So in other words, you think of it like if I wanted to say, summarize this white paper, this document. For the free version, you might only be able to get the first 2 pages summarized. And in the paid version, you might get the first chapter or the second chapter summarized. So that's the difference. Those are the differences between the paid version and the free version. But they both work exactly the same. Is that it?
Yep, I
All
think
right,
so.
so, all right, pricing. Pricing. And let me tell you, the reason that we're talking numbers now, because you will need to have a number slide in your pitch. And that number slide needs to be realistic. You're going to be talking to people who see business plans on a regular basis, who understand so many different industries. And so if you come in there and you say, these are the number of leads I can produce, these are the number of people I can convert to sales, based on those sales and my prices, I'm going to make $1 million in 2024. Probably not. So you want to make sure that your pricing includes everything that you're going to need. And I will say this too, I want you to absorb this as small business owners. Don't be afraid of the big numbers. If it costs what it costs, then you need to price it accordingly. And if that price becomes a big number, your target customer will either pay it or they'll tell you it's too big, and then you get to adjust it from there. But again, remember 2 things, that you only take that feedback to heart from your target customer, and then you really make sure you're expressing the value before you change that price. Because it may be, again, that the way you described it did not sound like it would be worth what you're charging. And you just change the way you describe it and people will pay it. So your pricing needs to include your costs or everything to produce that unit. And it should reflect your target customer. If your target customer is of the well-heeled type, that well-heeled type not only will most likely pay the higher price, they expect to pay the higher price and will very often attach value to your price. Meaning if your price is low, you might think, oh, people will buy it just because it's less than everything, costs less than everything else. But that may be the very reason they don't buy it, because they think it is of lesser quality because it costs less than everything else. So recognize that is part of your pricing, your target customer's perceived value. And then there is the value you bring. As an independent, especially when you're talking a service business, your time, your education, your skills and abilities, those are value points that should be reflected in your pricing. If you can, to go to the party example, if you can deck out a room like nobody else in this area, it doesn't matter if everybody else is charging $100 an hour. The value that you bring is worth $500 an hour. And the people who want what you do will pay it. If you can produce it, they're paying for that result. And that result is what they will, you name the price, they will pay it. because you are solving the problem for them. And when you're talking about a situation like that, say that's this beautiful party room, you are saving them time, you are building status for them because everybody knows you charge $500 an hour. So for them to be able to hire you, that's instant status for them. They are posting it all over, so they get some of those vanity points from likes and people sharing their thing. So you're solving, you have value built into that. That's every single service business, not just a tangible one. If you have something that's the counseling, think of the price that people will pay to feel better. Don't be afraid of the big numbers. Build that value in there. So have that as part of your considerations. Your indirect costs should be part of your considerations. If your customer expects you to have that big, beautiful, cushy office downtown, that's part of your direct cost that should be included in your pricing. So here's how you think about it. You research those market prices and demand. Demand is a big one. If it's something people really, really want, a whole lot of people really, really want, you've got room to play in that marketplace. Don't just go for the absolute lowest price and say, I'm going to scan down here. Everybody else is charging. The last person down here is charging $4.99. I'm going to charge $4.95. Why? Why? Consider all these other things up top before you even think about that. Think about your profit margin. How much money do you want to make? We got into business to make money. We didn't get in here just to run ourselves crazy and break even every month. We wanted to make a profit. How big of a profit do you want to make? If you're already working another job, how much is it going to take for you to replace that income with your business income? What kind of profit is that? What does that look like? Then you set that price and you put it out there in the marketplace and see what your target customer has to say about it. How do they respond to it? Again, I would say if they're not favorable to it, the very first thing you want to check is your messaging. Then from there, if they still say it's too high, then you look at reducing it a bit. Just a bit. Don't slash it, because then you lose their trust. If you take it from $1,200 down to $800, they're going to say, was it really worth $1,200 to begin with? And then is it really worth $800? You've already dropped that price. Really set it so that it makes sense and that you can explain it with your value. And then refine as necessary. And then once you get it, run with it. Run with it, and then don't be afraid to raise it. Think of your conversions. If you're having sales conversations, your conversion should be about 40%. If everybody you talk to signs up and says, yes, I'll take it, that's a good indication your prices are too low. You want to keep raising them until you only about 40% of those people say, yes, I'll take it. Then you can hold it there for a while, service your customers, see what other value you can bring, and then raise it again. But don't be afraid to raise prices. Is everybody good with pricing? I see Keto.
So once you've done that initial 40% raise, what should the next percentage be when you want to raise it a second time?
It's not a 40% raise. You want 40% of the people that you pitch it to essentially to say yes.
Okay.
So if
Okay.
let's say you've got your pricing at $100 an hour. If everybody you talk to and everybody that reaches out to you and you explain what you do and give them the price of $100 an hour, if all of them say yes, it's too low.
Okay.
You want 40% of them to say yes. And then you can raise it depending on what your value is and what you're bringing to the marketplace. You might raise it 10%, you might raise it 20%, you might raise it 25%. But whatever that raise is, you go through that same process. You start talking to people, you pitch it, let them see what the price is. When 40% of them are saying yes, then you know you're good.
Okay.
If more than 40% are saying yes, you've got room to increase it. Susan, I'm sorry, did that answer your question, Keto?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, yeah, sure. Susan.
Okay, so this is where I struggle. So I have a tutoring business. So I do private tutoring. When I started about 6 years ago, I was only charging $15 an hour because I wanted tutoring services to be affordable to people in my community. And it was something for me to do. But I want to grow my business. I now charge $25 an hour, but I also do a package where you pay for 10 hours for $225, so you save $25. But I go through peaks and valleys where it's profitable, then it's not profitable. Like some weeks I can make money, some weeks I can't. And so like if more people do a package deal, it's better for me because then like I already have the money up front. Now, if people cancel, like I'm working on like policies and procedures and things like that, because if you cancel and you didn't already pay, like now I'm not getting paid and I've always like I'm missing out there. And when you're saying 40% of the people, but like I don't do any marketing and not to, everything that I've done has always been word of mouth. But I want to grow into another capacity where I can help more people, maybe doing more consulting stuff or, connecting with other businesses to try to provide services, that way, because I'm limited in myself, right? And the time that I do have, and sometimes how I get around it is I do group tutoring, or peer tutoring together to kind of, maximize, but I'm all over the place. But I'm at a point where I need my business to grow and I need to grow. That's just that. So, I know there are businesses out there that charge more. And I know there are people that probably would charge more, but I'm like, how do I know like where that mark, you know what I mean? Like where that mark is to charge more.
There's a few things that I hear with that. First, I would say your first thing is being able to communicate your value. When I think of tutoring, $15 an hour is a drop in the bucket for the ability to have lifelong learning. I mean, once you give me that education, there's no one who can take it away from me, and I can use that education to now make a better life for myself. So there's value, significant value in it. I would say just listening and do you, I know you charge per se by the hour, but do you offer it in hour increments?
Yeah. So it is by the hour, it is hour increments. Some people do 2-hour sessions at a time, but then they pay for 2 hours. So that's just that. So yeah, I only do hour sessions because 30 minutes to me isn't enough.
But I could so essentially just say I only need you for an hour and you would.
No, it's not even like, so typically people retain me for a long period of time. So it's $25 an hour with the intentions that we will be working together over a period of time. Now, I do have some people who will do the 10 sessions and then they'll see where their child is after the 10 sessions. And then so it's not like a contractual thing, but I have kids that I've tutored for the last 6 years. I have kids that, so majority of the kids that I do tutor have been with me and they stay with me until they, graduate either 8th grade or high school. But it's something bigger than what I'm like. I tutor at the library. It's bigger than that to me. And so just getting to that uh growth of the business. So
I would say that you should look at how you structure first look at what your value is. Really understand the benefits that you're providing through your service and speak from those benefits and price accordingly for those benefits. And when you're talking about the pricing, if your target customer is someone who might struggle to output for that whole outlay at one time, there are so many different payment services now that you can look into to say, okay, you don't have to pay it all to me right now. You can pay it in 6 payments or 4 payments or whatever that is. But this is another thing that I think we may have talked about a little bit before last week. You sound like you have a bit of a passion project in there, in that you really want to help the people who really need the help, regardless of their ability to pay. And I would say if you have the ability to do this, as this might help, where you are targeting people who can pay more. You target, meaning I'm going to now say, I'm going to package my brand and package my services to people who can and will pay $200 an hour. And then I'm going to limit that capacity to, say, I don't know how often you work if you do this as a full-time thing, but I'm going to limit that capacity to, say, 30 hours a week. And then the 10 hours a week, I'm going to tutor the high need people, high need, low income people. And that's going to be, say, $10 an hour. Because over here, this is my brand, this is my business, this is what feeds me and my business. Over here is my passion, my heart work. And I can do that, but only for a limited amount of time, because I have to still run this business. And as you grow and scale, you can have people who are servicing that $200 an hour customer while you can spend more time on your heart work. Does that make sense?
it does. And that's where I'm at, where, I've been doing it just something to help people, right? But there's more there. And so I'm like, how do I get to that more? Where is that, where is that more? And like I said, a lot of the people that come to me are really word of mouth, hey, I need a tutor. This person help this person, and I do it. So I work as an executive director for a daycare center full time. I tutor after Monday through Thursday, and then on Saturdays, but there's only so much I can do. But I want to grow.
And I would say start from the beginning. What's your brand? What does your business look like ideally? If you could create the outline and description of your ideal business, what would that look like? And then just do this simple analysis of what is the number of units that I can produce, the price that I want to charge per unit, you multiply that, and that's your revenue. Can I live off that revenue? Can I grow off that revenue? Can that revenue support the vision of the ideal business that I have? And if not, then you got to consider, do I need a second target customer? Do I need to have different, just like we just described, where I have this customer over here, the target customer that I'm going to be servicing most of my time with, that's feeding the business and supporting that ideal vision of my business. And then I'm also doing this maybe through Boys and Girls Club. I'm doing the heart work.
Got it.
Because quite honestly, you can't have a high need, low income target customer that's going to support a large business vision without an intermediary.
Right.
That's what we talked about too last time.
I really want something like a Huntington, like, but in the community, like this, that is, an educational center, to help our students because they need help,
How much
Um,
does Huntington charge?
I want to say the last time I looked, I think it was like 40.
Mm-hmm. And they get customers. They must get customers because they're in business.
They
So
do.
there are people who can pay. And you want to, that's again, look at what they're doing and say, what can I borrow? What is it about what they're doing that they've already figured out that I can now borrow for my business?
Right. When you talked about the commercial last week, I started looking at their like commercials and things like that. So yeah, I'm starting to look at that stuff too.
Good, because you have to really understand the value of what you're providing. That's what I talked about a little bit earlier, is when we are doing a service business, it's easy for us to kind of downplay the value of what we as an individual brings to the table. But there is value, significant value in the result that we can provide to these businesses.
Right, right. Thank you.
Sure. I see Candace with a hand up.
I just wanted to piggyback. My brother went to Huntington, and they also use college kids too, and they get them for free for college credit. So you might want to start looking to the college seniors and high school seniors. I had a friend that had her website developed by a high schooler because Dennis Wilson was giving his high school kids the opportunity to design. Y'all better stop sleeping on these kids. These kids is your labor, and I won't say free labor, but it's your free labor because they can get school credits. They can use it for internship. They can use it just for their own personal experience. I know I got me a couple of seniors on my list right now. Y'all better get them.
Thank you. Exactly. But that's before you even get there, though, I feel like for you, you need to really go back to the basics and what's that vision of your business? What's that brand? What does that look like? And who that target customer is. All right, so when did it become 7:24? I'm gonna hurry right up. Okay, revenue streams. I think of Jana when I think of this slide. You've got verticals. So when you're talking a revenue stream, your core business, let's use event planning. So your core business might be event planning. And then your vertical might be event rentals, or your vertical might also be day of coordination. These are things that if someone were coming in for an event, they might need these things anyway. So you've just kind of added on to that. To use the same example as a horizontal, you might have an event planning business that also does transportation, like limousines and things like that. And then maybe on the other side, you do catering, because somebody coming to an event might need transportation to the event. They might need food, and then you're bringing that in. And these are things that you are touching your industry already onto the left or the right of you. But then you've also determined that there's other things just in your lane that you can use as a revenue stream. So when you're talking about all of these costs and unit economics, you want to make sure you capture all of that for your streams, and not for the pitch. For the pitch, you want to pick one, but for your own record, your own individual information, you want to know about all your verticals and all your horizontals, and make that be part of your business planning. You don't want to start off trying to have a whole list of verticals and a whole list of horizontals. You want to say, what can I offer as a core? Then build on that slowly. And as you might want to say, do I build up or do I build out? And I would say start small, perfect small, and then scale that perfection. Once you have a well-oiled machine as a small unit, then you expand that, you can expand that up or out. It's up to you. I see Jana with a hand up.
Could you go over the difference between verticals and horizontals again?
Yes, your vertical is an additional offering that your target customer would come to you and you can say, instead of going over here for, I'm trying to think of a good example with a paper product, but instead of going over here for your envelopes and over here for your sleeves that you're gonna put the paper products in, we'll sell those. So you come to us and you can get your finished product in a single package. That's vertical. So we now are selling, in addition to the paper, we're selling the sleeves you put them in, and then we're selling the envelopes that go with them. Horizontally, where would you get your ingredients, I guess is the best word for it. Wherever you get your inputs for your product, that's your horizontals. So for a paper product, whatever you make your paper out of, say the seeds. Now, again, I have a real true brown thumb, so I don't do anything at all with seeds. But if you said, we buy our seeds from a supplier, then we put them into our paper and we create our paper products. If you were then to become or make a relationship where you had the seeds that people buy, that would be a horizontal. That would be something off to the side that people is still connected to your industry, but it's much more of an input into your business than a vertical, an addition to your business. Does that make sense to everybody?
So the verticals are like an add-on. So if somebody were to come and get invitations, I could also get them to get table numbers and place cards and all that stuff for their same event. That would be vertical.
Yes.
Horizontals would be if somebody else that wants to make paper at home wanted to start buying pre-made paper pulp, and we could sell that as a separate. Okay,
yes,
cool.
yes, absolutely.
That makes way more sense.
Mm-hmm. Shanna.
Hi, I also had a question about the vertical. So I'm just like brainstorming as to how I would like relate that to my business or my future business. I plan on opening an infant and toddler just daycare, childcare program. And then eventually open a preschool program, and then eventually open school age programs. So initially I'm just gonna start with infant toddlers. So what I plan to do what I plan to do like I guess as a goal of mine within the infant toddler daycare, I want to offer daycare, I mean not daycare, babysitting services. Would that be like a vertical then, or?
Not really. That would be a different revenue
Okay.
stream, but your verticals are, if you think about something that your target customer would essentially add on to what they're coming to you for. So if I came to you for eyelashes, then I might want to add on, I might say I would go somewhere else to get my eyebrows done. But look, you do that now. That's now a vertical. That's now a service that you offer.
Okay.
You get your eyelashes done, you can get your eyebrows done. So I would be coming to you for that anyway, and I would be going somewhere for that anyway, based on what I'm buying from you. But now you're going to offer it, so I don't have to go someplace else. I don't have to split it up. Like when you think of Super Walmart, those are just a million revenue streams. There was a time when you could go to Walmart, get your nails done, get your hair done, get your card serviced, get your eyes checked, get your groceries. I mean, that's just, those are revenue streams, but they're not necessarily verticals, because I wouldn't think to go to Walmart to get my car fixed. I just happen to see it and they just happen to offer it and I could do that. But let's say if I went to Pep Boys and I was gonna get car parts and I see that they offer oil changes. Okay, so I would have come to taken that oil filter and gone somewhere else to Monroe Muffler to get the oil change, but now you're offering it. So now that's a vertical for Pep Boys to say, not only do we sell the filter, we can actually change your oil for you.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Sure. So any other questions on that? Get this formula down. Profit equals total revenue minus expenses. That's all the way back to the candle example we talked about earlier. If it costs you $10 to make the candle and you sell it for $5, no bueno. That's a loss. You want to make sure that your expenses have some, after you deduct your expenses, you have some money left over, and that's your profit. So 7:33, so I'm trying to move. Okay, so as we talk about scaling, this is a very, very, very basic illustration of how you want to think about scaling your business. You say, as a business owner, I'm wearing multiple hats. I'm everything that the business needs, but I don't always want to be. And your business model should not be set up so that you are always the one doing all of the work. So the way you do that, you say, okay, right now I'm the technician, the manager, and the entrepreneur. The technician piece of what I do is the hands-on work. It's the functional work. It's the stuff that the customer buys. That's the technician role. The manager would be the one who oversees that technician. So when you start, you're all three, but that first hire should be that technician, so that you can move into the manager role and say, I'm just kind of overseeing this, making sure they got it right, making sure they're trained properly, making sure that they have the right customer service. I'm overlooking that. But I'm also still doing the entrepreneur role, because I still need to divide and spend some of my time working on the business and not just in the business. So then I hire a manager, and I can then step fully into the entrepreneur role, that business owner role. Now I start looking at the direction of the business. I start looking at the industry and see what kind of changes are going on in the industry that we can now take advantage of for our business. So when you think about this right now, you are probably 85% in the technician role, maybe 10%, 15% in the manager role, and not nearly enough time in the entrepreneur role. You want to balance that out a little more and then create a plan, a model, so that you can say, at the end of 2024, I'm going to have a technician, I'm taking that hat off and handing it over to someone else, and then I'll be the manager. I'll spend 40% of my time as a manager, 60% of my time as the manager, 40% as the entrepreneur. Then as end of 2025, I have a plan to get a manager in place. They're going to take that hat off, and then I will be spending my time in the entrepreneur space. And I will still, as a small business owner, will probably still spend a little bit of time in both of those roles, but you start to move that ratio to more in the entrepreneur, the business owner role, and less in the technician and manager role. Does that make sense to everybody? It's a very, very lay it out, say, what are the hats, if you will, for my business? How do I then start moving to where I take these hats off and hand them over to someone else? That's how you scale. Questions, comments? Okay. So now when you're talking about laying that all out, this is exactly what I was just saying. Create the plan to hire, but don't always think of it as hiring. Before you can do any of this in terms of hiring and planning to hire, you need to have your numbers together. You need to be able to understand how much revenue has to come in before you can start taking hats off. And then from there, okay, now how much revenue is, let's look at my pricing. How much do I need to sell in order to get that revenue? Does my pricing support that type of revenue? If not, I need to go back and rework some things. And it all starts with your target customer. So you're gonna get that business canvas document. You need to lay out, take all this time to lay all of that out and say, does this business model fit? Does the money that I need to make equal, or does the math equal what it needs to between the pricing, the selling, and the target customer to be able to create this kind of revenue that I want to make for my business and support the growth that I want for my business to have? Questions? I'm moving to 7:37. I'm going. So here we are, back at this pitch. Take all of the information that we just talked about. Think about how it fits into these slides. A single slide. If you can get it to a single slide, that's great. No more than 2 slides per topic. We're going to talk about target customer lead generation in 3 weeks, because the next week and the week after that is going to be Citizens Bank, and they're going to have a ton of really good information for you. So really think about how you're going to, in these coming weeks, take all of this information and fit it into this outline. So that's it. Questions, comments? Sorry, I went over a little bit.
I have a question really quickly. I can't find the link to the meeting that's happening in Rochester.
Oh, I can send that out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, guys?
I just was curious who else might be going to that. I'm pumped about it. I'm really excited. And I'm going to be carpooling with another business owner that I know who's not in this group. But I would love to like connect with y'all on LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever ahead of time, so I know like who I'm looking for, so I can meet you in person, because I'm a people person.
I love that. I know you put your information in the chat, right?
Yeah.
Shanna? Yeah, perfect. All right, so her LinkedIn is on there, guys, and her Instagram, so check it out. Also, I just put that in the chat as well. Let me stop recording, sorry.